Recording on the cloud. It's not your grandpa's porn collection. It's the Black Tower Podcast.
Ha! Got him.
Now
we're just newer with twice as much push.
Taint.
And I don't mean George W.
Heyo!
He means
The
George
1960s
H.W.
called
George Bush.
George Bush? What?
The wilderness
Hey,
must
everybody.
be explored.
Oh God. Oh, is it on
That's
me
such
today?
a top-notch
It is.
meme.
Speaking of top-notch memes, welcome to another episode of the Black Tower Podcast. We
Yeah.
are a Wheel of
Every
Time
episode
podcast.
It's
Um,
a top-notch meme.
Yeah, and we are a top-notch meme, whether you're making fun of us or having a laugh with us. Don't care. Just have fun. I am your Bajan Mahal. My name is Andrew. You might want to know that, you might not. But now you do, because knowledge is power.
Sometimes it is that hard. Hi, I'm the Soravan Mahale, and my name, colloquially known in some circles, is Josh.
And in
Also-
other colloquial circles, he's known as Jam.
It's true. So if you go to a live stream of any kind and you see some asshole named Jam commenting, that's me.
Probably him, though we make no guarantees. There's always a chance that it's somebody else. And that would be weird, because then if you're like, hey, I love the Wheel of Time, and they're like, who the actual fuck? Then it's gonna be a weird conversation. But hey, maybe you'll make a friend.
You might.
I am the Finger Guns Mahale. Daniel, also known as the Amen Khan Mahale. Which I think means finger guns in the old tongue, right? That's what we determined.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Finger Guns Mahale. Yeah. And tonight we are joined by our Commissioner Mahale and our fact checker Mahale through the Typity Types, which is going to be great. We're excited to have you guys along for the ride.
We got
And
a couple
also-
people in chat tonight.
Indeed. And also one of the better spoiler warnings that we have that we actually used last week. It's good.
That's
Very
true.
I don't remember what spoiler warning did we use last week. I
Remember,
remember
if you're
all the spoiler warnings. I just don't remember when we used them.
spoiler
Yeah.
warning.
Well, I think
Remember, if you are a Patreon, you can. One of your benefits is to record a spoiler message for us. Now,
Indeed.
currently, the only spoiler messages we have cover the entire length of the series. We do not have spoiler warnings that say this episode is spoiler free, which does happen from time to time.
we have one.
We have one.
We have
We have
one that
from
has
more
we have
Shine.
one.
spoiler free, but we do not have any that are marginal that go like, hey, this one's through book 5, or this is a partial spoilers stuff. So
This is an only big spoilers, but no small spoilers episode. This is an only small spoilers, but no big spoilers.
yeah, something like that. Stuff like that. You get it.
Indeed,
it.
you get it. But,
But
if
if you want to
you
get things both big and small that have our names and or chibi faces on, well, no, not the chibi faces, but our names on them, and other things that us, mainly Josh, has created, head on over to New Creations by Jen. You can find all sorts of Wheel of Time inspired gifts over there, both from your favorite podcasters here on the Black Tower Podcast, as well as some other shows, all the way up to the illustrious Kate Redding and Michael Kramer. So go and
Indeed.
check it out, newcreationsbyjen.com. And if you don't want to type it, well, just click the bookmark that you have for blacktowerpod.com, because we know you bookmarked it because it's the best. It's the
New
best.
Creations
And then just
by
click on the button that says
Jen.
New Creations by Jen.
.com.
And get yourself some dope merch. Do it. You can also get the Taste of Tank shot glasses from there, and the Two River Sniper. So you can do the thing.
SOUSs.
What?
Nothing.
What?
Spoilers of unusual size?
I don't think they exist. What a great
The reference
freaking
I'm too
movie.
uncultured to get.
What? You never saw The Princess Bride?
Oh, it's been like
Wesley,
forever.
what about the ROUSs?
Oh, rodents of unusual size? I don't think
I don't even think they exist. And then they're like,
Hmm.
and fucking Warwick Davis in a rat costume jumps on him.
Uh-huh. Great.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I can't remember most of it. So.
The chat wants you to get bake fired.
No. Don't do it.
I'll finally have a smoking hot bod.
Got him.
Maybe I'll watch it. Who knows? Now I'm stuck trying to find time to finish
shit.
watching The Last of Us. Thanks a lot, Dragon. Knight. Specifically,
That was fun. For those of you who don't know, we were on a Dragon Mount live stream where we were doing a rewatch of The Last of Us. It was episode 1, and it was a lot of fun. It's still up on the YouTube Yules. Go give it a shot. Go give it a check. Go listen to us cry and sob. 3 grown men crying and sobbing. That's what it does. That's what happened the whole time.
Ronan
No,
the
I'll be
legal
not
sense.
taking questions at this time.
Yeah.
Have you guys
Speaking of
tried this?
questions,
So good.
I have not tried your drink since it's in Utah and not here.
I suddenly remember why I don't like using virtual background. If you understand things.
Yeah, I was feeling a little left out for a second, and then I couldn't remember where we had them saved. So I was
I don't
like,
know. Did we have one for you? Did we make yours?
Yeah.
I feel like
Yep.
we did.
I might have
Yep,
it
everybody
here.
has one. See, here's what happens if I don't use it, though. I'm going to show you guys
Yeah.
my...
Yeah.
Your office is intense. Both of ours are actually relatively not intense.
I'm going to go back.
Oh wait, no, yeah, I do have it. Hold on, I can actually drop it into
Yeah, you
the
got it.
thing.
You got it. So we are, as Andrew said before, we are the Black Tower Podcast. We are a
Are we?
Wheel of Time podcast. We have merch that is super amazing at New Creations by Jen. If you want to go to our website, blacktowerpod.com, the link is right there. If you want to be a Patreon, the link is right there. If you want to see photos from JordanCon, there's a photo album right there. And if you want to be a part of the photo album, all you have to do is send me those photos and I'll add them to the photo album. How easy is that?
True.
Matter of fact,
True.
While we're sitting here tonight, I'm going to add the photos that Andrew sent to me to be added.
Not
Literally
the
two.
not the
happen.
things.
It's
There are
going to
the
happen.
only 2 photos that I know that exist that prove that I was even there. Everything else I have is circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial.
What are we talking about tonight, everybody? What do we got? What do we got?
Oh.
What's on the docket?
Well, the first thing on the docket is going to be me putting my virtual background back on again because now I feel left out.
It's okay. I'll be
Hey.
taking mine off because I hate this, but
I
I want
we
to.
met-
But I
we
wanted to
matched
be
for
part
now.
of you, or part
matched
of
for
the
Part of this
fun
world?
for a moment.
Part of our
Yes,
world?
I wanted to be part of this world.
Maybe I should unmirror mine so that we actually do look.
No.
Uniform.
Yours is actually not mirrored to us.
Yeah.
Yours is
Are you
fine
serious?
to everyone else. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you want to see
That's
how it
fine.
looks to me? Here, I'm going to snip it and clip it.
Well, while you're
Yeah,
doing
mine
that,
also
someone who
looks
doesn't
backwards. Yeah.
cut things off is going to be today's spoiler warning brought to you by the lovely folks over at the Gleeman's Apprentice.
The Black Tower
no,
stands
okay.
fully erect.
When the tower is bulging at full erectness, you must protect yourself from tainty spoilers.
Your spoiler condom must cover the immense girthiness of all 14 books of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time.
With an itty bitty tip at the top for the prequel New Spring.
If your condom is too small, you will get tainty spoiler jizz all up in your eye.
Or ears.
You
have been warned.
Yeah.
I do
So
like
we
that
actually used the Gleeman's Apprentice one twice in a row.
It just changed. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, it changed because
Oh,
I
shit.
changed it. We didn't use norms for the last one, which
Ah.
was the thing.
Well, you know what we can do right now?
We can edit that out and do
I'm
norms.
Tim Sorrell. Hello, I'm Tam Sorrell Norm. You may remember me from the
We're gonna
Dusty
double
Wheeler
bag
of
it
the
tonight.
Black Tower podcast. I'm here to give you a public service announcement about spoilers, as this episode may contain some. As if
Oh,
you
they
didn't
gonna.
already know that, like watching the film Titanic and being surprised that the boat sinks at the end of the movie. Hello, moron. The movie is called Titanic. Of course, the boat fracking sinks. This show is called the Black Tower Podcast, as in from the Wheel of Time. And these three guys are Ashaman. Well, at least two of them. I don't know about that Josh guy. Anyway, you have been warned.
You know what, Norm? I even sent you your taint sauce. I hope you're happy with yourself, sir.
I'm sure he is.
I'm just about to say, I'm sure he's just fine.
I'm sure
What
he's
he
a little
doing?
more tainty than he was when he first started.
His best. He doing
Well,
his best.
But anyway, what are we talking about tonight?
So tonight we are actually going back to a topic that we had started a little bit ago, and had done some different talks about, but we did not quite get through what we wanted to talk about. And if I'm not incorrect, we actually had kind of like a different idea and went in a totally different direction than had originally
As
been,
we do. As we do.
planned. So last time we did this, we were talking about sort of the power
Less like
differences
rules and more like
between-
guidelines. Sorry.
That's why it wouldn't be helpful to be killing you. Yeah.
Not yet.
Best start believing in ghost stories, Mr. You're in
You're
one.
in one. But yeah, so last time we talked about this, it was sort of the power differences between the people in the Age of Legends and now, except that we kind of didn't do that. We kind of just talked about different aspects of power levels, especially in the, like, it's very confusing the way that they talk about power levels because it changed like 3 different times throughout the book series. And so even when they did try to quantify it, it got very confusing because sometimes Moraine would be stronger than somebody else because it would be 2 different scales. And you'd be like, why is this happening? But anyway, we thought we would circle back to sort of the intent of this topic when it was actually written into our handy dandy magical scheduler spreadsheet.
Here on
Josh,
Real.
I believe you were actually the one who put this in. And you
Yeah,
were
I
the
thought
one
we
who,
learned our
like-
lesson with asking me about topics that I put in or did not put in.
Bold of you to assume I can learn.
I believe the tangent. So we've gone on a metaphysics. I'm just going to call it a metaphysics series because we've
Yeah.
talked about different things. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this particular tangent was the actual metaphysics of channeling. Like what, how is,
No.
why, do,
No,
war,
I think that's a different
are.
topic
That's
that's
later.
coming up, isn't
Was
it?
that different?
that's
No.
later.
Well, see, this is
Yeah.
what happens when you ask me.
All right, well,
I-
When was
here's
that
I get it wrong.
it's in there. It's
Oh yeah, I see it. We're not doing that until the end of May.
yeah.
Heads up for everybody that listens to
month
this.
from
Now you
now.
know.
Well, then, oh, this
Wait.
is straight up power differences.
I got
So again,
completely confused for a second.
this
'Cause I
is
was like, wait, it is
originally-
May.
Yeah, right. We are.
It's gonna be
It was
my-
originally called Power Differences Between Age of Legends and Third Age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for one, male channelers in the Age of Legends were like super powerful,
Were they?
and male channelers in the Third Age were next to non-existent.
Yes. Well, that's the obvious one, just for
Yeah.
starters. Thanks for that.
I mean, everybody from the Age of Legends that could channel, in general, was markedly stronger in channeling than anybody alive in the Third Age. Anybody born in the Third Age, not anybody alive. With what would be rare exceptions, but doesn't feel like rare exceptions because the exceptions to the rule are in your face the entire book series. because people
yeah.
like Egwene and Nynaeve and Avienda and Elaine are very
Olivia.
important characters. Yeah. Yeah, so they're going to be in your face and you're seeing all the time, but in mass, like they're not the average, they're not the commonality.
Correct.
And, Moraine and Suon Sanchi as the Emerald referenced this at the start of the series. They're like, you know, they talk about how remarkable it is to find 3 Chandlers, much less 3 incredibly, or 2 at the time, 2 incredibly powerful Chandlers from
Yes.
the Two Rivers area, that being Egwene and Nynaeve. And throughout the series, we kind of learn what the cause of that is, though it's not like directly confirmed. There's enough evidence to point to it, because we see the Sarans avoid it by using their male Chandlers as breeding stock before they kill them, to keep their Chandler base diversified and strong, whereas the rest of the world says no, just die in one form or another. Either we make you go die, and it turns
Go
out you don't actually
now
die. You show up and you get turned, and you
die
make
in
the enemy
whatever
stronger.
way you see fit.
Yeah, they pretty much just set you loose in the desert of Uriel and say pick a god and pray to them as long as they're over there. And then it comes back to bite everybody in the ass, because this entire
Yep.
time you've basically been sending the shadow soldiers. So
But only if they file their teeth.
fair enough.
Only.
Only.
All of you who don't file your teeth, we just kill you.
Well, and there's
So you've had whatever you call, there's a part of this chanting ability that definitely appears to be genetic. There's a genetic disposition to the channeling strength, in addition to the kind of the binary gendered restrictions on channeling in general. I mean, there are obviously exceptions. But just like anything else, people do this all the time with selective breeding whenever they try to breed purebred like dogs and horses for racing and all this kind of stuff, where you selectively only allow subjects to breed that have desirable characteristics because you're trying to foster those desirable characteristics in the offspring. Well, whenever you cut out half of the equation of reproduction that carries the genes to make people able to channel, over time, that ability is going to be less and less present. And ultimately, it winds up leading to a massive and drastic weakening of channelers en masse in the Third Age.
That actually
Understandably, but
that actually just reminds me of the stupid line in X3 where
oh god.
Iceman is sitting down, Bobby is sitting down with his family, and his mom goes, "I'm so sorry, this is all my fault." And Pyro is standing off in the corner and he's like, "Actually, the X gene mutates on the male side, so technically it's his fault." And you're just like, first and foremost, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And like, this is the midichlorians in episode 1 of Star Wars. Go away right now. But also
that is exactly yes.
I mean, so the cool thing about like the Wheel of Time is we get direct comparisons that aren't like assumptions based off of stories of how powerful people were in the Age of Legends. Like, no, we have people from the Age of Legends to directly compare strengths to.
True.
Right.
And to me, I think it's easy to forget, because when you think about just how strong even the weakest member of the Chosen is in comparison to everybody else, or even like Mogideon, like she's remarkably strong in the Third Age, but she was not anything remarkable in the Age of Legends. She was skilled, she had talent, but she wasn't like anything to write home about. No, Luce Theron wasn't like, oh, look at how strong she is.
Because
and
didn't even know who she was.
yeah.
Well,
but she goes toe to toe with Nynaeve, or Nynaeve rather goes toe to toe with her. And so like just like the frame of or I try to keep framing it in my mind, that you have to be abnormally strong and gifted in the Third Age to even stand a chance against someone who was considered relatively average amongst their peers to channel from the Age of Legends.
Look what they have to do to emulate even a fraction of our power.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that gets me with this particular development. I
This is where
think
he's going to tell us why he actually wrote this down.
no, because what I'm hearing is talking about like what is
Write this
actually
down.
channeling,
Take
because
a
we
little
were
note.
talking about. But anyway, we'll go there
Remind you
later.
in case you didn't know.
But the thing is, you've got so Andrew, I like where you went with Nynaeve v. Mogedion, because Nynaeve, they're like, oh my god, Nynaeve is so powerful. Nynaeve is so amazing. And you're like, yeah, she is. She's like super, super powerful in the one power. They talk about Egwene being more powerful than, I can't remember if they say all of the sisters in the White Tower that we know of, or most of the sisters in the White Tower. But I'm doing my reread, and I'm in the Eye of the World right now, and they're in Baerlon, and I will check up on that as soon as I get to it.
I think like just like they do in the TV show, I think Maureen does like at some point make a reference to Egwene has the potential to be stronger than all of the Aes Sedai.
Yes. And the cool thing is, they talk about Nynaeve being a bonfire next to the candle that is Egwene. Like, I do know that comparison is made. Basically,
Which I think is
Nynaeve
actually hyperbole, but like
at
the same time, yes.
But
it's
the
like
point
you're
being,
a campfire, Egwene, and Nynaeve is a larger campfire. Like
Nynaeve is a burn barrel. Like, let's do this. But so the thing is
kind
the bottom's
of
melting fast.
There are definitely times where Nynaeve is definitely a dumpster fire. But
damn. Fair, but damn.
We're gonna get canceled.
No,
again.
No.
I mean,
Anyway,
I like how the show did it. I mean, we don't get to see the direct comparison of Nynaeve in full fury channeling next to Egwene sitting there off to the side going, "Oh fuck, she's strong." But you know, the TV show I think does a really good job of saying, you know, like a blazing sun, which we know that Logain was not seeing her channeling, that he was seeing her. No, he wasn't. What was he seeing? Yeah, what could he see? Because he could see.
He was seeing. It was like an effect of the weaves she was doing.
I mean, it is entirely possible that given
explanation.
Actually, it is, to be fair, entirely possible that given in the show that Nynaeve is a Taviran, they are calling her
that's right.
that he can actually see how Taviran she is. Because again, if in the series you call Nynaeve a Taviran, which is fine, I'm actually fine with that. This is another discussion that we will have soonish, that we have started before and will have again, if you will. But if you are calling Nynaeve in the series Taviran, she is clearly not as strong as Rand, the strongest ever fucking Taviran, but she's pretty Taviran when it comes right down to it. Like, the stuff she does is pretty impressive. And so if you're giving credit to a number of the things that she does as being Taviran nature, she's pretty strongly Taviran.
Master Kinslayer, what shall we do?
Well, I will say this. So we've got in the White Tower,
she's
with
mostly
the Aes Sedai,
Taviran, which means she's slightly not.
They can basically have dick measuring contests where they can say, I can hold more of the one power than you can, and they can easily.
Not in Utah, they can't. Not anymore.
Not in Utah.
Can?
That's right.
No, they do regularly because it's their hierarchy.
Right.
It's not even just can, it's regularly must.
But I mean, it is one of the abilities of Saidar, whereas with Saidin, they don't really have a good way of quantifying. It's just that's more intense of an aura than I can put off, so he can channel more powerfully than I can.
Nobody in the White Tower gets challenged to Agni Kai anymore, and it really fucking shows.
Shokugeki! Who is the best cook who can also channel in the White Tower? That's really
Ooh.
the question. I'm pretty sure it's Yukihiro Shoma. But
You know.
Well,
You
and this is
know.
actually one of the other things that I think is interesting that I really appreciated that Robert Jordan brought in before the end of the series, or before he stopped writing at least, so he didn't sort of pass the buck to Brandon to sort of bring this around, is the idea that before you go to the White Tower, you're getting a bunch of information from Moraine that, hey, the Forsaken are actually terrifying because they can do a lot with Sidar. Not only is it just about power, but they already have that on us, period. Like if you take everything else out of the equation, they're stronger than everybody in the entire tower alone. So that's already scary. Add to that the fact that they actually also know what they're doing with Sidar in ways we can't even imagine. They're terrifying. Never go up against a Forsaken. If you run into a Forsaken, run away, get out of there, deal with it later, blah, 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 blah. And then she meets Nynaeve and Egwene, and like Egwene starts coming into her own and things like that. And then she witnesses Rand channeling and things like that. And she's like, okay, Egwene, you should definitely probably still run if you meet a Forsaken. But at the same time, like, I don't know, maybe you might be okay. And Nynaeve, like, unless you're mad, definitely run. But if you're mad, like, you can probably fuck up a Forsaken. Like, again, they still have way more on you as far as knowledge is concerned. But like your power in and of itself is really, really ridiculously impressive. And then later on in the series, after we've met a bunch of Aes Sedai who are not as strong as Egwene and Nynaeve, after we've met a bunch of Aiel who are not as strong as Egwene and Nynaeve, even though a number of them actually rival sisters in the tower and things like that, then they meet the Windfinders and the Shan-Chan Damane.
Right.
And suddenly there are a half a dozen women who are at Egwene and Nynaeve level. And one of them, who is the strongest channeler who isn't a Forsaken in the entire series. And if I'm not even like remembering completely incorrectly, I think she is the strongest channeler, and she is matched by a Forsaken, but even the Forsaken are not higher than her.
Olivia, right?
Olivia. Yeah. I think she is legitimately the strongest female channeler in the entire series,
in the series,
including Forsaken.
Yes.
And so again, it's definitely a situation where like they're culling out channelers, and it is both a, you know, the White Tower is a shadow of what it once was. The Windfinders are still absolutely doing what they're doing, but again, they also send their male channelers away. The Aiel send their male channelers into the waste, all of this different stuff. So channeling is a dying genetic thing, seemingly, but at the same time, just like genetics, you're getting these weird outliers where the old blood is just ridiculously strong, and you have Nynaeve just kind of popping up out of nowhere in Manetheren, and you have Olivia just kind of popping out of nowhere in Shan-Chan, and you have you know, the two Windfinders that when they're using the Bowl of the Winds, Nynaeve is like, holy shit, these people can hold so much of the one power, and they're popping up sort of out of nowhere in the Athan Mier. So it's definitely one of those cool things that I really appreciate that Robert Jordan puts in, that is, it may be dying, but is definitely not dead.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the things I like too is none of the third age channelers, with rare exception when you have someone like Olivia, or you have like Rand, these individuals, and in some cases Nynaeve, none of the third age channelers win by sheer force of will, sheer power.
Also true.
They win by tactic and strategy, which is something that we see the Chosen continuously flounder in, because they are
Yes.
so innately stronger than all of the other channelers that their arrogance makes them believe, well, we don't really need to use anything special. Like, I just inherently, by being me, am better. Like,
Yeah.
Whenever they say get better, they're using me as a reference. Pretty much
Get
their
good,
attitude.
scrub.
Yeah.
Oh, so become a chosen. Okay, cool, great.
Yeah. So out of like absolute necessity, the only way for third age channelers to stand a chance against the Chosen and the force of the shadow is to innovate. They have to. And necessity is the greatest originator of innovation. And it's whenever that necessity is
Was that Gandhi?
either innovate or die. It's a pretty good fucking motivator. And that's why we see like slowly throughout the series, like channelers doing things that in any other time frame they wouldn't even consider it.
Mm-hmm.
In any other time frame, Elaine would not consider trying to replicate a Terangrial or any Angrial. She would just be like, okay, because it would have been peaceful. She would have went to the White Tower. They would have been like, yeah, we don't fuck around with that, because here's all the records of the last 20 Aes Sedais that try, and they all
Because
die.
if you fuck around, then you find out. And we don't
Exactly.
want that.
Sometimes in this story, sometimes when you fuck around, you don't find out though. You just die.
I mean,
Well, you
I
fuck
feel
around,
like that's
everybody
finding
else
out.
finds out.
That's also true. See?
Yeah. It's like the murder of crows investigating what killed their friend. They're like, we don't know what happened, but we don't want to do whatever they were doing.
Yeah. I'm about to take on a controversial view, which is a thought that I've just had. There is actually no
spoon
degradation in channeling ability, because we're leaving out one extremely important aspect, and that is that nobody in Randland seems to actively recruit. The White Tower doesn't actively recruit.
I like where you're going.
Hold on though. Nynaeve would not be Aes Sedai at all. Moraine noticed that she was a channeler and was like, oh, okay, so you're a wisdom. Cool. I turned her nose up, sniffed Wilder, walked away, didn't recruit, didn't want to teach her, didn't want to bring her home, nothing. She wasn't even going to bring Egwene. Egwene basically was like, no, I'm coming on this motherfucking adventure. You can't stop me. And so Moraine was like, okay, I really don't have a choice. I wasn't here recruiting, but cool. If I bring back a powerful channeler, what can the harm? Where's the harm in that? The Aiel,
they're gonna
not actively recruit women who can channel. They actively recruit whom they believe are wise ones, but as we know, some wise ones do not channel. And I'm willing to bet the inverse is true, that there are also women who can channel in the Aiel societies, or women who can learn to channel, who do not cultivate that, who do not become wise women,
where is
who
the
do
Allspark?
stay as whatever the case may be.
As whatever the case may be.
And then Wavefinders, I mean, their society is a bit of a mystery, so we don't know. I would imagine if you are a woman who is discovered to be able to, read the winds and become a Wavefinder, that would be a prestigious thing. So I would imagine there would be testings and things like that. But it's also very dangerous, right? Because they can't let Aes Sedai know, A. B, they only have so many ships, so it's not like they want to be inundated with a lot of channelers. And C, every single time they find a channeler, they have to make the decision of whether or not they send this one to the White Tower to keep the White Tower off their backs. So no societies in Randland actively recruit women who can channel. So that would stand to reason that many women who can channel just go undetected. Many of them probably die after their first touching. Many of them who survive develop blocks and just don't channel because they can't. Many of them take positions like Nynaeve as healers or wisdoms, and many of them who are born, who are able to learn, who are not born with the spark, but who are able to learn, just never learn. And we know this has got to be the case because you're telling me that the two rivers who in the end of the series produced dozens of powerful channelers, both male and female, you're telling me that they've never done that prior to this generation? That it was this generation that all of a sudden sprouted up dozens of powerful channelers all of a sudden out of nowhere because the wheel wanted it, which, hey, I can get behind that because the wheel says, now it's time. But at the same time, I have to believe that a lot of this talent is going unnoticed. And a lot of this talent is just simply not being used.
Yeah, I
So
agree with the number of channelers that are probably out there.
Yeah, I was
an
gonna
example.
say
The
I'm the
strength-
6 of one, half dozen of the
Yeah,
other
the
kind
strength,
of thing.
I
here.
disagree. I think there were definitely channelers born in Amansfield and the surrounding Two Rivers area that, you know, either never channeled or died from some weird
They give
sickness that
some
nobody could
names
figure out. Yeah,
in the books.
I
Because
think
once
that,
Nynaeve knows who she is, she thinks about other wisdoms who have had that,
Yes.
who they know about that this has happened to, that she surmises this occurred. So,
Yeah.
like, again, we even know some names of people who you are exactly right, Josh, about a generation ago or half a generation ago or whatever. There's a wisdom who we're pretty strongly believing that that's true about. But again, that doesn't mean they're a 10 or a 1, whichever scale you're on. It just means that they exist. It's
And
it's such a different statement to say that they're a strong channeler than to say they're channeling able at all.
and that's
No.
what I was going to say is like, I think this generation is the only one in recent history to produce channelers of the caliber of Nynaeve and Egwene, because
Mhm.
we can't count Rand as an inherent child of Manetheren
Absolutely correct.
because
And I
none of
wasn't.
his lineage
Yeah.
is Manetheren. So
True.
he is an outlier example that makes it look like maybe there are more, a higher preponderance of channelers there. But I mean, we have this whole thing about the wheel turning out things well ahead of time or setting the stage for things that it needs, right? So it would make sense that if the Dragon Reborn is ultimately going to make his way and grow up in Amon's field, that the pattern is going to go just like there are other Taviran there, they're there to help him, and he's linked to with Matt and Perrin. Then it stands to reason that the wheel is also going to, in its will, know that he's going to need other friends.
Sure.
And who knows, maybe just by his presence already as a slowly building to effective Taviran, acted like radiation a little bit and mutated some of the cells as people were able to learn channel. Who knows?
I can see that.
Yeah, I will also throw out there that we actually have 2 relatively good sort of large examples of what you're talking about being true, but also not being true, which is number 1, our favorite place, the Black Tower. They do not find hundreds of people who are at, like, Samael and Ishamael levels of channeling ability when they do go out recruiting. They find a ridiculously large number of channelers because no one has actually been actively looking for and trying to recruit male channelers unless they're trying to kill them if they're the Red Sisters. And so again, they find that ridiculously large number of male channelers, but like they definitely talk about in the series that like Mazrim Taim, Logain, and Rand are like head and shoulders above every other person that they're finding. And so in the end, like they're the three guys who decided to go ahead and declare themselves the Dragon Reborn because they're head and shoulders above any other male channeler. And they were like, well, this has got to mean something, I guess. Like,
I
and
think
so,
even being
they
a man
find
who
a
can
shit
channel
ton of-
though gives you that a little bit.
I mean, a little bit. I absolutely agree. But then you have guys like Dahmer Flynn who were like, I can actually channel a like solid amount. Like, I'm not unimpressive when it comes right down to it. And I'm an old guy. And guess what? I've never had the inclination to go ahead and call myself the fucking Dragon Reborn. That shit is for other people. I don't want to be anywhere near that. Like,
well, one, Dahmer Flynn, when they tested him, he was like, I think I can, but I don't know. And
well, he
I
was
really
also
don't have
the very
anything else
first
going
one.
on. Yeah, he was first to be tested.
Yeah, he was the very first to be tested.
And the second
And
thing
again,
with
we
that,
all know
and-
that Mazrim Time was blustering when he was like, well, I can test people to see if they can channel. Like, he can, but he doesn't do it very well for the first few. But he's like, haha, I can do this and the Dragon Reborn can't, so I'm better. And you're like, you're still shit at it, but okay, I guess.
And here's my second thing, which is more of a question. Do we ever get, I know it talks a lot about the women. The women Forsaken are so much more powerful than the men. Do we ever get a direct apples to apples comparison when it comes to the men? Because the only one I know of for sure is they say Rand is so much more powerful, and
Well, they don't
But-
actually say that the female chosen are stronger than the males.
In fact, they actually specifically kind of say the opposite, that Rand and
No, I mean-
Demandred are actually the strongest channelers, if you
Yeah.
will, in the world. Like, again, including men and women. Again, it's absolutely, as you said, a little apples to oranges. But again, like, when it comes right down to it, their ability to just take in power, just amount of power in some ways, Rand and Demandred
Right.
are like and Moradin are like the strongest beings on the planet.
But what I'm saying is, do we ever get it for like the Black Tower?
Mm-hmm.
Do we ever get an apples to apples comparison of Age of Legends male channeler Forsaken to Third Age male channelers?
Yes.
I know they
And
compared
now,
Taim
granted,
after he comes out, after it's revealed that he is
Right.
that Mahale, as that is his chosen name, that he still ranks under all of the, or I think he's like mid tier with the male chosen, isn't he?
he's just under all of the other named ones. He
Yeah.
would have been stronger than Asmodean if he'd actually still been alive. And I mean pre-trapping Asmodean, not post. He would have been stronger than Asmodean, and he's weaker than everybody else.
Well, and this becomes the issue, right? Because the mean or average of channeling ability, right? If you've got a comparison of all the Third Age female channelers, the average would be, here. And all the female Age of Legends channelers, is the actual average much higher? Probably yes. We would assume.
I think it
yes.
is. Yeah.
But once again, remember,
Yeah. No, you're
the only
absolutely
channelers we have record of are the famous ones.
correct. Yes, and I think that there is actually a lot to say about that. That is part of, I think, this discussion. And I think that that's actually a valuable discussion to have, is okay, let's take a step back. In the books, page time wise, we talk about, as far as named channelers, we have all of this anecdotal information about channelers from the Age of Legends, which are almost exclusively chosen. And then we have anecdotal information about all of the women who are still alive or who are born in the Third Age and have a certain amount of channeling ability. And we do not really get a direct comparison as far as whether one is better than the other, or whether they're close, or whether the average is actually the same. There's just a wider spectrum in one than the other. Because again, one of the things that we rely on a lot in these books is the unreliable narrators of Lanfear and Moghedien and Demandred and Moradin, who walk around dismissing everything in the Third Age as being worse than the Age of Legends. And are we actually sure that it's worse in the Third Age than the Age of Legends? If we're being honest, probably. The Age of Legends is called the Age of Legends for a reason. But at the same time, Moradin walks around and goes, Psh, cups were better in the Age of Legends. Like, is that actually true? Like, or is he just being a bit of a dick? Like, and so when he walks around and says, these Aes Sedai are no more than children, what aspect is he talking about? Is he talking about their knowledge of their ability to use Saidar and the weaves that they had in the Age of Legends? Is he talking about, man, none of these women could actually even hold a candle to the amount of Saidar that the average Aes Sedai in the Age of Legends could hold? Is he talking about, like, it's a little hard to pin down those things, because when it comes right down to it, Lanfear and Moradin and Demandred and everybody, they're kind of dicks, and they really do walk around being like, man, trees were cooler in the Age of Legends, and like this was cool, and you're like, shut
They're fucking
up.
trees,
Like,
you pretentious dick.
and of course, on one hand, they probably were. There were groves in the Age of Legends, like, and things like that. And some of it really was cool, but also like
more
like,
shoddy bringing the heat in the chat. Remember, if you want to be in the chat, you got to join a Patreon.
truth.
I mean,
Look,
when it comes to like any kind of like close to concrete thing we have on like the relative strength of different channelers, the best we have in terms of a qualitative measurement comes from the Wheel of Time Companion, which has the second power rating scale and very well known to differ from the books. Because the problem you run into when you're trying to quantify power using a magic system that doesn't have like blanket bars, like there's no level cap to different things. It's just your ability, your skill, your tact with it that affects it. So somebody that can channel very little could actually better somebody that can channel a fair amount more than them by using proper tactics. So it makes it hard. So when you look at strength, you basically are gonna if you want to qualify it, you're gonna have to go with how much of your related power source can you hold and effectively use.
Yes.
And when you do that, you wind up with the now 3 times changed power scaling chart. Because originally
we have
there's
3 of them, so it's a twice changed. We have 3 different scales. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have the original scale. That where is it? It only had 60 base levels.
Yeah.
And then it was edited to include an additional 12 levels, where now the current number 13 is equivalent to the old number 1 level. And then when even that wasn't enough, they had to add another 6 levels, which are annotated by the ++ and then the number.
Yeah.
right.
Which those numbers only take into account for channeling ability and strength above the maximum strength level that a female channeler can reach, according to this chart. So obviously the ++1, the very top one, is Ishi/Morden, Luz Theron /Rand, and Ravine. Followed immediately by Aganor/Osangar, Demandred, Loghain, and Mazrim and Samael. So the only Forsaken stronger than Taim was Morden and Ravine, and he was considered on par with Damodred and Samael and Aganor/Osangar, Gore, whoever. Just pick a Gar.
Osen
Not a Black
Gar
Tower
Gar.
Gar.
Yeah. But everybody else that's above the number 1 slot that's in the ++, they're with the exception of Narishma, they're all other chosen. They're Asmodean,
Yep.
Balthamel / Arengar, and Balal.
Yep.
And then you have Lanfear, Olivia, and Cimarog taking the top spot, from like they're the peak of female strength and channeling. Followed by Sindane, which isn't really saying that much different because it's just Lanfear reborn.
I was about to say
Yep.
Sindane is Lanfear, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
this
she
is the
just- she
problem
lost
with
a
this
little bit of power.
particular chart is that
Yeah.
like it just gets a little weird when you're
Well, but she gets nerfed.
using multi. She
when
does.
She comes back
Yeah.
as Sindane.
Correct.
So-
I agree with you, but also
Yeah.
like they do weird things with the particular chart that we were using the last time we were looking at this,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
things like that, where it's like,
So
well, she gets nerfed,
This-
but it's
this
also
one
like
seems-
this is blah blah blah. and
This
blah,
one
blah,
seems
blah, blah,
more
blah.
accurate than the one I looked at last time, I think.
Okay,
Because
that's
this
fair.
one, it puts Nynaeve at the number 3 spot, along with Kerrigan McConnor and Grendel / Hesselom, right above
Right.
Mogideon. So that's at number 3, which is 10 spots higher than the previous rating system. And Egwene and Elaine take up the same spot at spot number 8, which is right above Cad Swain, Bode Causin.
Bodhi.
Albion comes in at
So-
number 11.
So one other bit of information we don't have: training tactics and techniques in the Age of Legends.
Also true. I was gonna say that a lot of the
Be-
Shan end up being a little bit stronger than the Aes Sedai because they push themselves. Not the Shan Suldam, but the Shan Damane. They are
And
pushed,
What
Through their
does the
breaking
White
point.
Tower actively discourage?
pushing yourself.
Don't take a risk.
And
Yes.
so here's
Your
the other
life
thing.
is more important than your strength.
Do Aes Sedai in the age, and we know that at the Black Tower, men are pushed.
Oh yeah.
You are told you will hold Sidene to the brim all day, it is literally exercising a muscle. It is working a muscle every single day to push you to your fullest capability without burning out. And Taim even straight up says, yep, some of them burn out. That's just how it is.
Yep.
And the sort of issue that we get with, so once again, I kind of raise my theory that there may not actually be any degradation in raw ability, but the degradation comes, as we've talked about before, with Ishamael. So there is degradation, but it's not with raw ability. What it is Ishamael, who pops out every however many years, does his little touch the world cycles, and he says, hey, you guys shouldn't do that. Hey, you guys should do this. Hey, you guys should, and he starts a bit of an erosion. And there's a lot that he does to prevent them. No active recruiting for the White Tower. You have White Tower people who say, we place more value on your life than on knowledge, which, hey, that's a great idea. We place more value on your safety than your abilities. Do not push yourself. Take things slowly, take things safely, which is kind of ironic because at the same time, they're like, go into these 3 rings to become Aes Sedai, and maybe you'll come back, maybe you won't. I don't know.
The way
Scott
comes
made a
back, the
good
way
point.
back comes only once.
Snack makes a good point about how thorough the Shan are. At a
They
certain
test
age,
everyone.
every
Well,
girl
that was
gets
the other
collar put
thing.
on. And if it
That was
controls
the other
you,
thing.
well, there goes your life. You're done. Like, well, you're
I-
not dead, but your life of freedom is done.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that as far as recruiting is that we have the Black Tower as an example, and then we have the Shan because they are actively recruiting. It's a very different kind of recruiting.
Which is why
But
I'm
they're actively
specifying the
recruiting.
Westlands.
Also, look at the
Yes.
style of
No, I know,
recruiting
I know.
that is
you
intrinsic to the Black
specified
Tower. Like the
Yeah.
Black Tower is going out and finding people
that.
who
Mhm.
otherwise basically have no hope in life. They're
Oh
like,
yeah,
I can go with them and learn something and be of use, or I can sit here and go
die.
crazy
Actually-
and kill everybody I love.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it one
Female
step further,
channelers-
because men do not come into town and say, "Who wants to come be a channeler?" What they say is, "The dragon has been reborn. We're marshaling an army to fight in Tarmangaiden. Who amongst the men want to join and fight on the side of the light at Tarmangaiden?" They load them all up, they wheel them outside of town, and then they test them there. And the ones who can channel go to the Black Tower, and the ones who cannot channel go to Daddy Davram to be trained as part of the Dragon's Legion.
Correct.
I think they just
Is-
take them
is
straight
that-
back to the Black Tower. They're like, once you volunteer, you're stuck.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a
Well,
little
no, they do. They take them-
non-specific.
No, they take
Wherever
them back to the tower,
geographically,
and
it
that's where
doesn't
they're
matter.
tested and then separated out.
Right.
No, that's not true.
Geographically, what?
No, they're tested. They're tested at home. It absolutely says that they are tested at home. They test them at home, and then the ones
Well-
who still want to come with them that can channel go to the Black Tower. The ones who still want to come with them that can't go to
Well,
Davram. But again, it's also
once they've been found to be able to channel, there's no go. It's like, no, the Black Tower
No,
owns your ass.
and I get that, but like again, it does say that if you show up to the tower to be tested and can't channel, then they send you to
Yes. Yes.
If
If you
they
come to
show
the
up
tower,
to your town, they test you there. And I am sure they're not turning down volunteers for the army if you are found to not be able to channel, and that they won't give you a ride back in a gateway. But they're testing them at their towns. They're not loading everybody up, bringing them back in a gateway, and then forcing them
Yeah.
into service in the army if they can't channel. They seem to kind of be forcing them into service into the Black Tower in some ways. Like, I don't think they ever go, "Hey, you can't go home," but they're also like, "What are you gonna go home to, motherfucker?" Like,
well, I think that's kind of and that's actually kind of something I want to put in the fan fiction. I think that's
Mhm.
kind of one of the things is that if you're a man who says, "Yes, I want to fight on the side of the light. I can see the weather. I can read the signs. I know shit is the fuckiest it's ever been. Tarmangaiden is upon us. I want to fight for the dragon. I want to do my part," as a lot of men would.
yeah.
I feel like if you jump into that cart and you're wheeled away from your village and they say, "Okay, by the way, there's just one last thing we got to check. Stare into this flame. Here's a flame. Here's a flame. Check the flame out. Oh, hey, listen here, buddy. You can channel.
Uh-huh.
The dragon has made it okay. You will be safe. You will not be hunted by the Red Aja. After Winter's Heart, they can say that Saidin has been cleansed. You do not have to worry about going mad.
Uh-huh.
And which I think a lot of people are not going to believe, obviously. But
We've already done that
if-
episode. Yep.
If it were me as a recruiter, as a recruiting Ashaman, and I found someone who could channel, I'd say, "Look, buddy, here's your choices. Come to the Black Tower, learn to use this weapon, learn to use this ability to protect those around you." Because remember, an Ashaman protects. Even under Taim, that was the sales pitch. Okay. Under
Uh-huh.
Logain, it was less a sales pitch and more a truth. But even under Taim, that was the sales pitch. And where
Yeah.
you've already got a man who's left home to defend home, fighting in Tarmangaiden, I feel like the added knowledge that you can channel is kind of like, fucking figures. Okay, whatever, fine.
Yeah, no,
For someone
I
to
agree.
say you can come to the Black Tower, you can learn to channel, learn to use this talent, and you'll have even more power to defend those you love. or you
Uh-huh.
can go back, go mad, and kill them all.
Yep, great.
I don't think it's a difficult sales pitch.
No, I agree with that. And again, it is a question of we get so little information about the Black Tower. And this is one of those places where I would love to have seen more scenes of the Black Tower for just so many reasons. But one of them is, how human is Taim? We already know that he's a bit of a monster by the end of the books. He has turned a number of men to the shadow using the, you don't have a choice of the like 13, channelers and the Murdral and everything, not giving you a choice to fight for the light anymore. So we know he's a certain amount of monster, but again, how much does he start with? How much monster is he when he starts this thing? Is he going out to towns? Is he grabbing men and just saying, well, now that we've got you, you don't have a choice. You're now in service to the Dragon Reborn. And if you don't do what we say, well, you can't even channel. So like, you're not even going to be hard for us to kill. So you might as well just get in this cart and go, fight with the dragon soldiers. Or, oh, you're adorable, you can channel and you want to go home? Yeah, fucking stop it. Stop crying or I'll kill you. And then you won't get to go back home anyway. You might as well come to the tower and, be one of my Ashuman, because your other choice is death. Like, how much of a monster was Taim in the actual recruitment process? How much of monsters were his lieutenants, his Soravan Mahale and his Baijan Mahale, when they went out recruiting? Because I would like to see a little bit more of that, like, starting to fall into darkness, rather than having it basically feel like Mazrim goes from 0 to 60 in very little time, but only because you're not seeing him go from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And so again, those are things that I think would be really interesting and would clear up some of these questions about what does Black Tower recruiting actually look like and how intense and insane was it? Like,
I will say this too, though. I feel like because you've got two mechanisms of the Black Tower, at least early on, that you can kind of threaten a dude. If you just pulled fresh recruits in, you tested them, you found they could channel, and they go, oh hell no, I don't want none of this. You go first. There's the traitor's tree, which currently is adorned with the heads of those who tried to leave.
Mm-hmm.
2, because we are policing ourselves in order to not become a target of the Red Aja. Let me assure you of this. If you do not come with us right now and learn to use this gift, we will hunt you down and end you.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, again, I don't think that once you've convinced a man to join the Dragon's Legion and serve the dragon, I mean, the dragon is a terrifying enough idea as it is. And then to come in and say, no, the dragon is made flesh, he's real, come serve the dragon. I feel like once you've got over that hump, like that's 90% of the battle. And then if you say you can channel, they go, fucking, of course I can. Yeah. Sure, why not? Cool.
The dragon's
but even
gift.
Even if someone is not okay or not happy with that after that, I feel like you could throw in the extra little, you're free to go, but we will hunt your ass down and kill you so that you're not a danger to those around you.
Yep.
Which is a harsh take, but not an entirely unfair one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's a hard sell. I really don't.
Yeah. So just FYI,
once again,
Smack, while we were doing this, I was also looking this up. It just says that she is one of Tuon's personal damane, who is part of the Kareen. I do not remember her being a Marath Damane. I remember her actually being a Shan Chan Damane. But I can't guarantee that because there's not a ton of information here. It does say that Lydia, who is the one, is Shan Chan nationality. But again, I mean, the wiki's been wrong before, so like anyway. So my final thoughts on this whole topic, because I think that we're probably not going to do a part 3. We've talked a lot about power at this point. I'm sure that we will talk about many tangential or related topics, but probably not this one specifically. I think it really comes down to what is the purpose? What is the purpose and the usage in the two ages? And so I actually am a lot with Josh in a lot of ways. That is, I really think that they're starting. So if you look at it sort of as age 1 is us, and at the end of age 1, they discover channeling, or it becomes a thing that is prevalent and usable. Then I can guarantee that the idea that Robert Jordan had about it was not that it immediately pops up fully formed from the head of Zeus and is exactly what it is in the Age of Legends. I'm sure it takes many, many years and many, many generations to actually get that spark, that genetics, all of that different stuff to get to where it is in the Age of Legends, where channeling and science are coexisting in harmony, and they are fueling so many different things, and people are using it for all kinds of different purposes, and they're doing incredible feats with channeling. Then you have the breaking, and you go into the third age. I feel like the third age is starting from a way better place to get back up to sort of that level of the Age of Legends. But I don't think it's actually still there. I think that there has been a loss in general ability of that genetic passing of the spark between generations and things like that. I don't think it's huge, which is again why I think that they're still starting from a better place than, scratch by any stretch of the imagination. And again, you have these, genetic outliers like Nynaeve and Olivia and things like that that are showing how recessive things can still come forward as, really impressive ability and things like that. So I think that into age 4, now that you have men back with their ability to use Sidene without major unaffectable consequences, that we will get up to the Age of Legends type channeling faster, but that I think that they are starting from less than they did in the Age of Legends. And so I definitely think that the average has gone down, even if it has not gone down a ton. But that again, I think that both the White Tower and the Black Tower go out and find people now, or the kin finds people in Randland, and the Aiel continue to find people in the Waste, and the Shan Chan continue to find people in Shan Chan, and then you get to make a decision in a lot of ways about where you go from there, depending on who you are and where you're from. And so I think a lot more channelers are found in the fourth age. And so I think that does bring up the average inevitably in some ways, or maybe even bring it down if we're being completely honest. But again, their average isn't very good in the third age because it's just not a huge number of people. So it just betters their statistics, their knowledge of their statistics in the fourth age to actually talk to almost everybody who can channel. Find out where they're at, and then move into a place where they then get to have a little bit more of a say in what they do. And I think that you get back up to sort of Age of Legends level within a much smaller number of generations than you did originally. Also, again, doing the whole, I got my diploma in the waste, and then I got my associate's degree in on the deck of the charge horse, and then I went to Shara to go ahead and get my bachelor's, and then I went to the Black Tower and got gonorrhea. Like, I think that also, the interplay between the different societies also kicks that into high gear as well. Anyway, that's my last thoughts.
All right. And Andrew, you want to go next, or do you want me to take this one?
You can go ahead.
Look, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna put it into modern terms that we can see and understand. 200 years ago.
Thank you for that.
Hey, I got you, buddy. 200 years ago, we did not have cell phones. We did not have computers. We did not have, we were barely breaking into like vehicles. We didn't have almost all of the technology and comforts that we have. We didn't even have refrigerators 200 years ago. Okay. So no air conditioning, no heating. If you wanted a warm home, you had to chop wood and start a fire. Okay. Now, does that mean that people 200 years ago were collectively dumber than they are today? I would say no. But once again, 200 years ago, 400 years ago, 500 years ago, 600 years ago, you've got people who shine, people who come, Sir Isaac Newton, people who just pop up and they excel humanity in a very special way. And their intelligence sticks out as something very, very special, something very, very important, right?
I know the YouTube comments we're going to get on this part.
Now, that's not to say that they were not as smart as we are today, but what benefits do we have today?
Their
we have
foundation,
the ability to share information in real time. We have the ability to share information in a way that has never been seen at any point in human history.
and we
as
use it to
such-
look at pictures of cats.
And argue with strangers on the internet. But
And rub ourselves.
we are
raw.
able to collaborate.
Unless you're in Utah. They better spring forward so fast in Utah.
We'll see what happens. But we're able to collaborate now on levels
First you come
before
for the booze. Now you come after my boners.
And what that does for us is I may have a great idea, but my great idea will only be made better if I can get other people involved to test my idea, to look at my idea and say, you've got a problem here. Oh, that's good. I didn't even think about that. To offer different perspectives, fresh perspectives, and say, look, this is a good idea, but this is a problem. We actually see a really great illustration of this in the first Iron Man movie. When he flies up as high as he can, his suit gets covered in ice, and he goes, oh shit, I need to take care of that problem. Well, when another guy comes along and creates another suit, he's like, how did you solve the icing problem? And he goes, the what? Because they didn't collaborate their information. One guy is starting from scratch. Another guy is starting from scratch. Point being,
Tony Stark made
And I
this
know-
in a cave with
Out of-
scraps.
spare parts. I love it, and I know this is a bit of an apples to oranges comparison, but it's the point that I'm trying to make with the degradation and channeling ability. Is there some culling? Yeah, probably. I would say that there's absolutely some effect in ending the bloodlines of those who can channel. However, you're now going to a nature versus nurture argument, because the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. if the will
That's-
if the wheel
That's not what that
needs
phrase means, but okay.
a giant amazing channeler, the wheel will then weave into existence a giant channeler. Like that's what we need right now. I stand.
That's not nature versus
on my
nurture. That's
point.
wheels
You
versus
said your
wills.
last thoughts.
Yeah, about this topic, not about your bullshit that you spewed at the
I am
just
doubling down.
I'm kidding.
I am doubling down. I do
True
not
evil
think there
occurs
was a
when good men
significant
stand by and do
degradation
nothing.
in the ability to channel. I think the degradation came in the form of the Dark One's attacks on people, eroding the capabilities and eroding the will of the people prior to Tarmangaiden. And I think that once you get past that, once the White Tower starts, once the Saladar Aes Sedai start actively recruiting, who do they find? They find many women who are able to channel. Once the kin is discovered, and the kin is not only discovered to have a half dozen runaways, but several hundred women who can channel that are just not wanting to go to the White Tower and live that life. Once you start uncovering some of these things, I really think the White
Not
Tower
sure
is
Josh
throttling
made
itself.
read
And I
these
think we
books the
could
same way we
have
did.
channeling capabilities and that are equivalent to the Age of Legends. The biggest degradation is the loss of knowledge. That is why the Forsaken look at them as untrained children, because they don't even know a fraction. That would be like us going back to the 1700s and being like, bro, why don't you just Google it? Oh, you have trees here? Guess what? The trees in the future, so much bigger. So
No, they're
much
not.
bigger. I'm just saying, you suck. You guys are dumb. Same thing. And
Actually,
that's my
some
final
of them
thoughts.
are. I'm sure that they are. Like the redwoods and things like that. I'm sure that they're hundreds of years bigger. But like most of them are cut down, so like they're definitely not bigger. Andrew,
Andrew,
your final thoughts.
I mean,
finish us off.
on the loss of knowledge thing, I mean, it's thought that the loss of the Library of Alexandria set humanity's progress or delayed humanity's progress by a couple hundred years.
Mhm.
You know, and we found ancient analog computers from a couple different civilizations, I think, and different mechanisms they use. Basically, yeah, we're analog computers, just like the fucking abacuses, which still I love that whenever somebody finds out that the abacus is kind of classified as an analog computer.
The first computer.
Yeah. Which turned out to be wrong. It wasn't the first. Well, no, it was. Never mind. Because I think the other analog computer I'm thinking of was made after that, because it was a brass box to track tides in the position of the moon at a harbor town. Anyway, it's one of those things that it's always going to be a valid argument, and it's generally impossible to know which aspect of a change in ability and power dynamic is more detrimental, whenever really it's both of them are horribly effective at reducing the ability to channel in the Wheel of Time. Because yes, there's a massive amount of knowledge lost in the Wheel of Time. That being said, the people that should have the most ready access to a lot of that knowledge religiously and continually get their asses handed to them time and time and time again, because just where knowledge can enable you to succeed, arrogance about your knowledge can cause you to fail horribly. Just ask any of the Forsaken, because they with maybe no, not maybe, with the exception of Lanfear, they all ultimately fail. I'm not going to say that Lanfear ultimately wins. She doesn't, but at least she still has her brain and her life, and will probably live on for another couple hundred years, thanks to being in stasis in the Dark One's prison. But I don't think anybody's going to argue that, like, en masse, the ability to channel is heavily degraded from Age of Legends to current age. and the debate generally just comes up to what is the cause of it. Is it the culling of male channelers? Is it the lack of experimentation and pushing for rediscovery or new discoveries by organizations like the White Tower? I don't think so, because the IL don't have a barment on trying to discover new things or experimenting with the power. The Shan Chan don't. The only restriction they have is better be in a fucking collar before you do anything. As a matter of fact, they have all the reason to use them as test subjects because of their ideology around channelers anyway. And that shows in their combat effectiveness of just how fiercely efficient the Shan Chan channelers are at mass destruction. Like they're the first weapons of war. Before the first Ashaman ever starts exploding heads and meat grinding, the Shan Chan show the absolute terror of combat weaves. The absolute terror that the Green Aja could have been had they, I don't know, ever did anything in their entire fucking life. Besides save land.
Whoa. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Credit where credit is due. They fuck real hard.
I'm pretty sure the Green Aja allowed more Shadow Spawn to be killed by saving land than they did in their entire combined efforts of channeling against the Shadow.
You know what?
Don't get me wrong. I still love the Green Aja. They're great. They don't do anything other than save land.
The Shan Chan attack on the White Tower showed us that.
Yeah.
Even the head of the Green Aja straight up said,
Yeah.
We are so ill prepared.
Who's that up there? It's got to be a member of the Green Aja making us look good. No. It's the one that's been drinking nothing but fork root tea since they got here, and your leader's been saying that they're the false Amerlin this entire time. You know, the person you all said was bad.
To be fair, she is green.
She wanted to
the
be
green shawl.
She is of no Ajas.
She proclaimed that she would consider herself raised from the green.
That is correct.
But
and
I
so
can proclaim that I consider myself raised from English royalty.
I'm pretty sure that makes her agree. I'm not saying Aes Sedai
everybody.
right. I'm just saying
what does that mean then? That the most effective and the most efficient Green Aja member was never actually officially Green Aja.
It means she never learned their bad habits. That's what it means.
So the way to be the best Green Aja member is to never actually join the Green Aja.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Just skip the whole process
as we shit all over the White Tower again.
You can fully. I'm sure I'm gonna hear from like Adam.
Yeah, we're gonna get. I can already see the comments.
That's fine.
Hey, thanks for being here.
If you can prove me wrong about the Green Aja, then go ahead and comment. If you can't, then just say touche.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Do you think there's severe actual degradation in raw ability to channel? You think
that because they have not used it, they have now lost it?
Culling the ability and it is now weaker by our own doing? Or is there something more nefarious going on? Leave a comment down below and tell us what we missed. Tell us what we did wrong. Tell us what we did right too, because we love the validation, because we're attention sluts. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you so much for coming here to receive your weekly dose of taint. We hope that wherever you are, whatever you are, and however you are, you leave this broadcast just a wee bit more insane than you were when you first arrived. From all of us here to Black Tower, I've been your servant, Hale Josh.
I've been your shit all over the Green Aja, Mahale, Andrew.
And
that is an official title in the Black Tower, by the way.
And I've been your Amin Khan Mahale, Daniel.
It's
and from all of us here at the Black Tower podcast, this has been your weekly dose of bad accents. We thank you for coming and listening to us. We hope that you're having a wonderful morning. And in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and tell my aged grandmother good night.
Don't forget to train your Green Aja.
Always running the show.
Bye.